especially when a lot of landowners don't even live there. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that there's been blockages from council's perspective to not enable someone to live on the land and manage the land while someone, you know, is on their yacht in the Caribbean. It doesn't make any sense. This idea of jigsaw farming is something I've been playing with, in that, in a sense, what we're looking at is the development of a lot of really small-scale farms, which have advantages and disadvantages. And as we pulled the idea of the report that was produced about small-scale farms that will fix climate change, and there was another report from the UN, small-scale farmers feed 3/4 of the Earth's population. So, I mean, those are really big benefits. But when we think about being in a competitive marketplace, small-scale farms are really inefficient. So what we're trying to do is, small-scale farms are really inefficient. So what we're trying to do is look at a network of small-scale farms which on paper look like one really big farm and benefit from all of the economies of scale. We've already found with a number of farms that I work on, and then starting to tap into another of sort of my mates' farms, even just buying bulk fertiliser by the pallet and saving up to 50% in some instances. This makes the whole thing so much more viable. Some of us have got key pieces of infrastructure that we can then utilise on other farms, like rotary hose or walk behind tractors. I've got a big compost tea brewer on the avocado farm, so I can make batch loads of compost tea and then take it onto other people's farms and just pump it out with a fire pump. Things like tractor implements. The next stage of grant funding I'm applying for is to get a very small tractor that can go in a car trailer. It's the same problem everywhere, in that every bloody farm has a tractor sitting in the shed that gets used 2 days of the month, and it's just this enormous resource drain on the planet, and steel and all these bits and pieces of money just hardly used. Yeah, and then, you know, this whole thing with the next generation of farmers don't inherit the farm, so they don't inherit the farm machinery. It's got to start from scratch. So, I mean, if there was 8 of us that all invested $2,000, then you can get a small tractor, no worries, and move it around. But then you've got to switch this whole culture around. If I use something that's collectively owned, make sure it doesn't get broken. That's been sort of an old problem. I think the older generation of farmers stopped lending their stuff out because it never came back in as good a nick as it went out. So that all of a sudden becomes another issue that we've got to deal with. So this just identifies the farms that I work on at the moment, and these are the farms that I hope to integrate the incubator program through. So not only do the new farmers get an opportunity to learn small-scale small cropping or market gardening. I work on an ecological banana farm, which also has other fruit crops, so mangoes, custard apples, and avocados. I live on an organic avocado farm, and I also run small crops and cash crops with ginger and turmeric and finger limes there. And then I help manage a friend's small holding which has an existing citrus orchard, and we'll put in another market garden there. So all of a sudden I've already set down the foundations for another 10 labour units if young farmers were really willing to commit. There's more than enough work that can be done. It's just a matter of finding people actually committed to working. And I guess I've been really clear from the beginning in that I don't have any intention of paying wages. I've had to self-create what I've done, and I think that really that's the steepest learning curve. If someone wants to run their own farm, they're going to have to go through that process themselves. There's no point in, even though we can support them, enabling them to feel like farming is just this thing where you turn up at 9 o'clock and you go home at 4 o'clock and then you can forget everything. For me, that's labouring, it's not farming, and I'm sure you've all had the same experience. You know, all the risk is yours if you've invested all the money, and all the risk is yours if you do all of the work. So that's, I guess, is a really important part of the culture that we've got to maintain for young farmers. And so these are the opportunities which currently exist. And then when we look at a broader context of a young farmers cooperative, there's another dozen or so farms which are either owned and operated or just managed on land that they lease, that we can then use as a greater pool.
When you say you won't be paying them a wage, will you just give them a section of something and say you grow whatever you like?
Basically, and I think the other advantage of working on a system like this is that if I'm growing garlic and turmeric down the road and I've got an efficient system down there, and I'm saying to you, here's another piece of land and you just grow your own garlic and turmeric, like, we just entered into competition, and that was stupid. You know, let's say, hey, what are you growing, and what are you growing, and what's in season is working well this year, and we're already sort of offering all of the information and trying to be really transparent so that we're not ending up in competition, or then there's opportunities for scaling. There's another couple of young farmers that I work directly with for turmeric, and then we co-brand the turmeric and send it to Victoria, and we price match. So, you know, that's a really great opportunity for us to work together. And now we're looking at being able to invest in a harvesting machine, which neither of us could afford on our own, and it's really easy to throw on the back of a ute. So that's another great opportunity for collective farming or cooperative farming. Even if it's not under an official business cooperative, it's cooperative in its manner. So you can probably just see at the map, Byron Bay is just down there on the right. The farm, which is sort of a beast unto its own.
Left farm.
Left farm, a big business model with a big gold pocket that just doesn't seem to end. Sunk $10 million into that. But to their credit, and I do have to give them some credit, they have offered 4 half-acre blocks to 4 young farmers to get going, and the restaurant will consume absolutely everything that they can grow. So they are autonomous in the way that they run their farm, but they're within the framework that they know what each other are growing. They do share the equipment, and they've got a common sales point. So that's been a great step for them. What I'm now trying to do is to encourage them to look at, well, don't create such a comfort buffer for these young farmers that they'll never want to leave, because otherwise you're not generating a turnover. You're not stimulating the local industry. You've given the golden goose to these 4 guys, and if they stuff up, that's their deal. We need to start looking at, well, how do we give them an opportunity to scale up, or how do we get them onto bigger farms to manage? How do we get them involved in the food system? So outside of future feeders, which really, I guess, has become how to stimulate farmers, or farming opportunities, and how to provide resources, the Northern Rivers Young Farmers Alliance sort of evolved out as a network. Probably from the very beginning, in terms of the first 12 months, we just operated through a Facebook group, but it became such a thriving community for interactive knowledge sharing, things like who's got a spreadsheet for crop planning, or who's buying chicken feed this week, or who's buying lime, or who's planting what. I've got this problem, and who else has got this problem? You would have had the Rutherglen plague that came through from here. That was a really interesting conversation. It was really, really helpful in identifying where the hotspots were. So the Facebook group has now 400 members, and quite an active group of young farmers that use that for communications. We are developing a website, but basically it's been the starting point now for bigger conversations in the community for young farmers, and opportunities have evolved out of that. We often see labour sharing happening through that group. If someone's got a harvest schedule and they need some extra labour, often it's not done with cash advance, it's done, well, hey, I need a hand next week, can we just swap? So it's been a really great, almost a cashless economy way that we can start to support each other. What else has happened to that group? So we started to do monthly socials. We've been doing that for the last 6 months. So the last Saturday of every month we visit another young farmer's farm, and we just go from 9 till 12. It's an opportunity for us all to get together. We usually finish at the pub and just have a couple of beers and talk over problems. Certainly have found that as a way to debrief as well. So anyone who's got issues, and a lot of young farmers are suffering from really bad landlords and being put under a lot of pressure. So it's a way that we can support each other and act as an advocacy group for our own individual needs as well. So yeah, we pretty much just go from one farm to the next, and we try to book the next one a month in advance, and it gives us a really great opportunity to see all the different operations, all the different governance structures, different cropping methods, and even just sharing planting material and sharing seed. It has certainly encouraged a lot more young farmers to go back to seed saving, which wasn't really happening, purely because of convenience and then a lot of times for cost. I found that as a seed saver, it's more expensive for me to save my own seed than to buy it, just because of the time that it takes. But if I'm only having to do one crop or seed of broccolini, and I've got 5 other farmers who are prepared to save their seed from just one crop, all of a sudden we've started to share the load and dissipate some of the the labour drain in one particular farm or another. It's been a really good conversation starter for a lot of us. So these are basically just the different farm mix that we've had. These guys at the snail paste farms on the left, they do a cash crop of turmeric and ginger, and I collaborate with them. And we just got them a contract to start growing certified organic botanicals for a big cosmetic company, which has given them $60,000 worth of sales just in botanicals this year, and has enabled them to buy 50% share of the farm that they were leasing, including the house. So it's been a huge advantage just to have that network.
Can I just go back to structure again? So it's an alliance. Is this also under seed? Like
Yes. Yep.
So seed is the overarching body, which is the incorporated body, and an alliance is just how do I get membership, free membership?
It's free. Yeah. We just it's
It's
a word for just to define who we are and what we're doing. And we are an alliance in the sense that we are just a loose group of people with a common cause. I imagine eventually we'll have a proper steering committee when our needs are outperforming what we're already doing. But until there's enough desire, we're happy just to plug along. Being a virtual community, there's not a whole lot that really needs to be done. And when an event or a bigger activity or a working beat needs to happen, it's usually driven by a core team that are particularly interested in running it. An example is the Deep Winter Agrarians meeting that's happening in the Northern Rivers this year. If any of you have or haven't heard about that, we can talk more about that. So we put our hand up as a group from the Northern Rivers Young Farmers Alliance to manage that event for this year, and we've had a small group project managing that over the last 12 months.
So it sort of gives some farmers a bit of freedom that they may not want to be a member of a seed, but this is something they relate to, so therefore they join the alliance. But they might go back to seed in the future, or do you see what I mean? Like
seed is really just the governing body that we have to have as a legal identity. It's membered, it has to have financial members to exist, and we do a membership drive for that every year. But our members support that as a governing body, independent of the projects that it supports. And Mullum Seed just has a really strict criterion for partnership. So as long as a group or an affiliation or an association meets that criteria, they just pay a membership fee to Mullum Seed, and that's how they become a partner. This is unique in that I founded Future Feeders and the Northern Rivers Young Farmers Alliance, and I just happen to be the president, so it's easy for me to use that as a conduit. And I mean, everything is legit, so we still pay all the membership and all of that.
So more freedom than being sort of stuck in one group as well.
It's more targeted too.
Project-based?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of project-based. So they're like independent steering committees.
Yeah.
If you've got a niche project or a niche idea or a niche problem to solve, you surround yourself in a community of people that kind of target that, or other projects. So in Seed auspices a community-owned renewable energy Mullumbimby, which is a distributed solar farm. We auspice the Byron Region Chemical-Free Land Care Group. We auspice the Mullumbimby Library of Stuff, which is like you can hire cups and plates for parties and things like that. It's a kind of a plastic-free initiative. So there's a range of projects, and these are my passion projects, so this is what I'm involved with. But yeah, the Northern Rivers Young Farmers Alliance isn't at this point incorporated. We've got a grant going through that Farming Together program through Southern Cross University, so at some point we may become an incorporated association or a cooperative if we need to be. So there's sort of not any pressure for us to evolve unless there's a need for it. And I think just as more members become involved, then there'll be strategic direction that evolves out of that. And we'll probably move towards being a lobby group, really for council, really to have our needs met and our voices be heard within the local community. But the Northern Rivers spans everything from Tweed, Kyogle, Lismore, Ballina and Grafton council regions. So it's quite a large area, and there's a lot of different types of farming that happen with that. Especially when you go inland, and a lot of it's large-scale cattle and grain, of which there's a few young farmers involved with that as well. And we really have targeted young farmers who are doing things sustainably or within an ecological framework, because that's the kind of farming that we want to see supported.
But in the PGS that you mentioned, so Okay. Do you use label in the product yourself?
Do we use a label, sorry?
Label.
Yes,
Yes.
I'll get to that. Yeah, that's
Okay.
that'll be coming next. Yeah. So it's just some pictures of our young farmers groups. We've done everything from potato planting to bake-off. We use the events also for the PGS, so we don't have to do it twice. If we can get a group of farmers and consumers together, and we can use that as a farm audit, we'll often do that as well. We're streamlining some of the sort of administrative issues that we're coming up against. So yeah, it's sort of evolved to meet needs as needs arise, which is helpful. It provides us with an opportunity to be dynamic, and we're not sort of stuck in any one particular, we have to do this, or this is exactly who we are. So again, it's sort of just highlighting the need and the benefits of collaborative farming, whether it's through a framework of a co-op or whether it's just through an alliance or an association. But these are the sort of benefits that we've already started to receive from having the network. Certainly labour pooling has been really, really helpful for anyone who's doing cash cropping that can't access planting machines, or probably none of us will ever get to that scale. But when you've got to plant out an acre of turmeric, it's nice to have a few more hands on deck. Certainly for market access and distribution, working back the other way, being able to pool all of our produce together from small-scale farms so that we can start to access bigger markets. We've now got a few restaurants that are targeting us directly, so they'll send an email to me at the Northern Rivers Young Farmers Alliance and say, well, can you provide this? And then I can send an email out to the members. I can say, well, who's growing it for starters? Is there a supply gap? Because, hey, I've got a customer. Somebody put in a few lines of this particular crop. It works really well for niche crops. As a result of that, we had a few farmers go into edamame this year for the Japanese community, which was a real success. Which, if we didn't have this as a conduit for communication, no one would have been the wiser, and those Japanese restaurants would have got their edamame from the Brisbane wholesale market. So we can already start to break down this getting food from further away. And some of the larger small-scale retailers, like our local organic retailers, will now contact us directly, and they can now send us a year in advance their projected stock needs. Santos Organics has been a great one in that they can now send me every 12 months the list of how much crops per volume and varieties they were buying from the Brisbane wholesale market in the year prior, and say, go for your life, fill the gap. We will guarantee that we will buy from you if it's locally grown, in favour of having to get it from further away.
So that they understand your PGS instead of local.
Yep. Santos was the first organic-only retailer that has acknowledged the label that we use as an ecological standard, and they've been really supportive. Yeah, and that was great because it got a foot in the door as well. So the PGS, this is probably mostly what we really want to talk about. I really hope to have your feedback on this. I know that the Mary Valley Country Cooperative was operating in a sense a PGS at some point, but I really haven't had an opportunity to talk to anyone just how developed that was, or what is PGS? Sorry, I will. I'm going. I'll get there. I'm expanding on it. Here we go. I'll read it straight from my iPhone. Participatory Guarantee Systems. What's iPhone? International Federation of Organics.
Agriculture movement.
Organisation.
Oh, something. Yeah.
Agriculture movement.
Agriculture.
iPhone.
Thank you. Participatory Guarantee System is defined by iPhone as a locally focused quality assurance system based on active participation of stakeholders and are built on a foundation of trust, social networks and knowledge exchange. So PGS, as a participatory guarantee system, it guarantees that the production methods that the farming is used meet a particular criteria, which is defined by the members or the community, rather than outlined by a third party, so your BFAs or your OGAs or all of the other organic standards. In many cases, PGSs adopt the organic standards as a foundation, but really what iPhone encourages local communities to be actively involved in steering what the criteria are, so that you have a sense of ownership. And again, Rob spoke a lot about it as well. It's about communities self-orienting and self-organising. Farming, I think, is anarchy. It's people working together for a common cause rather than being dictated to how they have to go about things. And that's been my problem with the certified bodies, in that they will tell you exactly how things have to be done, and they'll come and charge you to do it. And then when you do really well, they come and take a piece of your pie as well. This is a system that enables local communities to grow within a transparent system. It develops the same level of integrity that the organic certification offers, but it's for locals by locals. The only real area where it starts to look at, well, I need both, or I need to move from PGS into certified organic, is when you start to sell your product outside of your community. But when we start to look at developing a common label, which has been the case in the US, they've got what's called Certified Naturally Grown, which is a PGS system which is national, and each of the counties and regions all have a common framework, so then they can start to intertrade between regions. And there's no reason at all why we can't start to do that in Australia. And I think this is just a starting point for that conversation. The certifying bodies are certainly having to look at it because it's going to cut their market, and I think for all of the right reasons, even if they deny that. And it's really, it's a price point. If you don't sell your organic produce outside of your community, why are you paying for a certified organic body to come and give you a tick of approval?
You mentioned the Australian organic standard. Can you clarify for me, did you mean that, would it be fair to say that most PGSs use the organic standard as a minimal level and then add in the local food and ecology?
Yes.
So the standard, the Australian organic standard, would be the base?
Yes.
Everything's grown above it, not diluted?
In terms of a production method, I think that's the goal that's set, and I think that's why the OFA is certainly looking at PGS keenly in order to determine that that becomes a baseline and that it isn't diluted. I mean, I think the strength and the reason that it was pivotal for me to look at establishing this in our community, there are so many claims of spray-free, and what the hell does that mean? Or chemical-free, and what the hell does that mean? And even just, I guess, your big broadacre certified organic growers, it's still a giant monoculture, and they've just replicated chemicals for certified organic chemicals, and that certainly isn't a healthy ecology by anybody's standards. So that was one of the reasons I chose to look at ecological as a framework. So it's organic by design or by practice, but it's ecological by philosophy. So it's a small-scale system. It's working within a local bioregion. It's a human ecology. It's about people working together. It is still the case that with certified growers, if they live isolated in a community, they don't get to talk to other certified growers to find out how they could be doing something better. But within a PGS, it's a key component that farmers are working together to start to problem solve or to help and support each other. So there's a range of reasons why PGS has advantages, certainly.
I wanted to tomorrow talk about this, that it's very important to think about, like IFAM says, we are complementary. At the level of the small producer, PGS is really a solution. When you have a little bigger extraction, you go to the third party. So there are in fact no competitions, complementary. It depends on the scale of the production.
It's been interesting in our community having talked to certified organic farmers that only sell within the local community, so to farmers markets or local retailers. And it boggles my mind, and I think when you start to talk to them, because they didn't have an alternative before, why am I paying for that? If all of my customers know how I grow, why am I paying for a label? This system we've just price set at $80, which is, the reason to do that is to make it so financially accessible to everybody that any farmer that claims spray-free and hasn't joined up, you really got to question what the hell they're doing. And in a lot of cases, when you say spray-free, the common one is, well, they pricked the ground with herbicide and then they didn't spray. Or they might have a tree crop that they don't spray the fruit, but they spray the leaf before the fruit, or they still use herbicide underneath. And what is that? You know, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't compute. But because organic food as a movement has become such a popular cultural identity for people to shop by label, They don't ask questions anymore. They just rock up to their farmers markets or wherever they're getting their product from, and if it says spray free, that's good enough. I say it isn't. I think developing these levels of integrity within the system are beneficial, one, to reward the farmer, and to really ensure that the farmer feels like they're within a community that respects the extra lengths that they're going to develop an ecological system, but also so the consumer at the other end can go, I know for sure that that farmer is doing all the right things because he's had a group of other farmers and consumers turn up every 6 months and check that he is. And even at the farmers markets, there's still not enough integrity within their system to guarantee that what is sold on the shelf or on the table was actually grown in the farm in the first place, or certainly was grown in the way that the farmer said that they did. So it's about developing levels of integrity within that that's key.
The other big advantage, it is very much a complementary one, so the local market has that. Brings back that trust. And then the research in the PGS indicates that the accelerated learning that happens through a PGS for farmers is vastly improved through that, the peer review, because you have to go around and peer review each other's farms. So in terms of a transition to move a lot of farmers and get through that period where they have to suffer production losses, or in some cases suffer production losses, without the price points, they can accelerate through that. And I think in America now they've got a new pricing mechanism for farmers who go through that PGS to accelerate, so they get a better price whilst they're going through that transition period. But they have to be part of the PGS to actually, because they know that through a PGS the farmers are going to, the uptake in learning is going to be so much quicker. But there is very much a complementary.
Well, depends also the country, because here you are new in these things. Brazil, for example. Brazil has 3 governments, 3 ministries working together, agriculture, society and health. So what they do, a law, 30% of the food that the children receive in school must be from this system. 30% is huge.
What about stimulus?
So it's a lot of promotion, but depends also the support that you have from the
Yeah, wow. There's a goal.
Two little technical issues. Go back a couple of pages. You mentioned you developed a market into Melbourne or Adelaide for one member of the group.
Yep.
So where was he a certified third party or was he a PGS member?
So
Is this the garden?
turmeric growers.
The turmeric growers, right.
They started off as certified organic, and they keep their certified organic label for the crops that they export out of the community, because that's essential for their wholesale market. But they also adopt the PGS for the other benefits that the PGS offers that the certification does not.
So the whole farm is certified?
Yep.
But they only have to declare the amount that they sell as certified, they sell the rest as PGSs?
Generally when they sell their local crops, they use both labels. There's not really one way around it for them. Like, there's an advantage for them to do that. They need the certification to sell their wholesale bulk goods out of their local community. But what we do in terms of the prices that we make, I'll get to the strategy, but basically for anyone who joins on, they have to submit a soil contaminants test. A certified organic grower doesn't have to do that because they've already been certified. So there's a cost that they just jump out on. They still pay a membership fee because they benefit from being involved in the network. And that's, I guess, is what the PGS offers that the certified body doesn't.
There's another technical issue as a farmer, managed farmer. When we use a product, we have to have a clearance of that product if it comes from an input, farm input. If it's anyway a chelating agent that may not be from a natural source or something. Who's the referee, who's the judge, who is the policeman?
So to clarify, I guess, the extent to which this is developed, we have been now only in operation for the first 12 months, which we used as a pilot, and we've had 3 farms on as a pilot system, just to trial it as a system. And by all intents and purposes, it was a success. And those are some of the things that we worked out along the way. So some things we're still learning as we go, and I think that is an advantage in itself in that it is dynamic, and the group gets to decide, and the group gets to define, and the group is made up of consumers and farmers. So there's strength in that as well. One of the key issues that we came up against was phytophthora in avocados and the use of phosgene, which when we spoke to a number of certified or members of the certified industry, we talked to an auditor off the record, and he was quite comfortable to say that phosgene was an entirely acceptable input. It's not regulated by the certified organic industry as an okay input. When you look at it, you can make phosphoric acid out of natural ingredients. There really isn't any reason to say why that isn't an allowable input. And so we started a discussion about whether or not we would include that as an acceptable input in the PGS system, whereas a certified organic would not be able to use it, and all of the pluses and minuses about that. But really it comes down to ensuring that the consumer is aware of what's going on, and that's why transparency is the foundation for all of it. If the consumer is completely comfortable with that, and all of the research indicates that it's okay, then we just vote for it democratically, and that's the process that we go through. For instance,
you just mentioned research in that sentence. You just mentioned research.
Yep.
Who does the research? Is it the PGS system?
Who does the research? Well, the only thing that's really come up at this point has been the phosphoric acid, in which case we just made anecdotal research to auditors and the certified organic industry, and we're just using whatever scientific information is available online. I mean, it's a grassroots organisation. It doesn't have any funding, so we make the best use of available information that we can. And if there's something that we can't solve within that mechanism, then it's either forgotten or we look at how to solve that problem when we get to it. But because it's driven by the members, it's a member-driven process for everyone. And as we talked about, the foundation is in the certified organic parameters. So if it herbicide, I mean, you just don't go there. It doesn't fit within certified organic, so that's an easy one. And anywhere where there's a grey zone, that's when you can start to look at, well, does the local community understand that this is okay or not okay, or why?
So do you make it any, that for me, as a certified organic avocado producer, knowing phosphorus is our number one, one of our major issues.
Yep.
I don't feel comfortable using phosphoric acid, knowing the amount and regularity that the conventional system allows it, and that there are compounding, traceable evidence that it is getting to the fruit. So would you look at putting limitation or last resort type measures?
Yes, absolutely.
What would you do first? What would you wouldn't automatically say, yeah, I can use it.
No,
what
as
have
you
you
say,
done beforehand?
in that particular instance, the farmer wasn't certified organic. He was using organic practices, and he was likely to lose his orchard from phytophthora because he didn't have a control method, and so we advised him to keep his income basically, and so he used the phosphoric acid in that case. But complementary to that, he used all of the regular organic and biological applications as a part of the process, so composting and mulching and trichoderma applications as well, which is completely different to a conventional grower. They wouldn't have any of those systems in place as well. So it does become, as you say, it's a last resort, which in that case we felt really comfortable recommending because he would have lost his farm and his income, and we would have lost the farmer from the community. So otherwise it was just either just go all the way conventional or give up. So this was a way that we could maintain his production capacity within a framework that everyone was quite happy about. So yeah, absolutely.
I think that PGS have more flexibility for the local conditions. So
yeah, and I think that's what it's about.
Certified organic, but you are organic in the conditions you have.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because the same auditor I spoke to about the phosgene gave me the story about the organic mandarin industry, where they rushed through a particular application for a fungal disease that was going to wipe out the certified organic mandarin industry 2 years in a row, and they just made that an input. The board decided that 1 year and it was okay the next, and then the next board took it off again. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's not entirely different to what the big boys in town are doing anyway. But I think the difference is the transparency that's really, really important within the system.
And the consumer is involved.
Absolutely. So I'll run through, there's currently 150 registered PGSs worldwide. You can go onto the iPhone website, which I've got at the end, and have a look. There's a map that shows where they all are and links to their websites. You can go through a registration process with iPhone in which they endorse your PGS. For those endorsements, the PGS has to use this certified organic standard as an absolute. There's no deviation. So it's an opportunity for a local region that wants to be certified organic but doesn't have an agency. So they use a PGS as an alternative. There's 3 PGSs that I'm aware of in operation in Australia, including ours. There's one on the Sapphire Coast run through Sage. There is certified naturally grown Gympie region, and I'm not sure if that's active or not. Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Chris,
you're not thinking of the booth.
Yeah, the
Chris was
Ukraine
on.
one was right.
Yeah.
Was it? And then there's certified naturally grown in the Gympie, the granite belt. Stanthorpe. So basically, setting up the framework, I cherry-picked all of the information I could find. I cherry-picked from the certified naturally grown group in the US. Basically, I just went through the application process, looked at what their requirements were and the processes that were involved, and I tried to adapt something which was for our community, and I thought met everybody's needs, so it was needs basis. And I integrated a few other concepts which I thought were important in terms of developing the integrity, which in the best part was involving the consumer in the auditing process, which doesn't occur in any of the other PGSs, and I thought was important. So anytime that we go to a farm and have an audit, we have to have another farmer and farmers that have been involved in the PGS program, but we also have to have consumers as a part of that. And that for us is about, for integrity, it means that certainly there can't be any questions around any backhand deals or anything like that. It also provides us with a really great network of advocates. So we've got consumers in the community that recognise the system, they've been involved in the entire process, and they will adamantly legitimise the practice that we're using to demonstrate that it's legit. So that'd be really great. And I encourage more and more consumers to come to the PGS audits than farmers in many cases. And because we've started off pretty small, it's been difficult in a tight circle. So the more consumers we can have there, the better.
So you just started this with the 3 farms though,
Yep.
even though there's a committee of people who are involved in the audit process.
So when we have an audit, we make an open invitation. So anybody who can come, and when we did a launch, we had about 100 people in the community hall. We launched the concept, and we just got an email register of people who were interested in it at all. They were potential farmers that would join up, they were consumers, they were just any mums and dads really. And any time that we go into a farm audit, and now we've got another 3 basically ready to go, we just send out an email and say, well, farm audit's on this day, you're welcome to come and have a cup of tea and have a look at the farm and go through the... Beg your pardon?
It's basically a farm visit with your auditor.
Yeah, it's a farm tour with the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
One more thing, do you have in this group certain way to solve the non-conformities?
Solve non-conformities. I've got a process, and I'll go through that with you. So this, from iPhone, there's key reasons to have a PGS. It is to combat the kind of more generic claims, so the spray-free, chemical-free, organically grown, those sort of things. There was instances where it was very clear that organic standards should not apply, like certified organic bottled water. It was to reward the growers for their commitment to an ecological process, which in the past, if they weren't certified organic, there was no way of rewarding them for what they were doing to the local environment. It builds communication and support networks and strengthens the farming community. So we plan to do within the farm visits, that's a way to bring people together and to develop opportunities for information sharing. And we'll also do a forum once a year where we invite everybody along and probably just run a presentation or get some sort of key expert in to give a presentation. So it's about knowledge sharing and building. and they represent an alternative to the third-party certification, which are especially adapted to local markets and short supply chains. And I think that's the key. It's about short supply chains. So the key features of the PGS are learning, sharing, and networking, which we sort of spoke about. It's about building a community around farmers that are identified through a common practice. It's about localisation, and for all of the reasons that we spoke about this morning, like localisation in terms of local economy and local food security and food sovereignty and all of those reasons which are really important. It's a farmer support mechanism. In many ways you could see the certified organic industry as non-supportive, and that it really is just taking a payment. It gives you a brand, but there's not any support, there's not a lot of information sharing or and the other reasons that we talked about, the networking and the learning opportunities. That's a really important part of PGS, is that it's supportive within the community. The trust and transparency is important the whole length of the process. It's really important for the consumer, and it's the only way to develop the PGS as a local brand, is to develop the integrity and the trust with the consumer. But also within the farming community, it's really important that farmers are trusting other farmers. It's quite common in our area that a farmer who's doing organic bananas will not trust that another farmer's doing his bananas organic, even if they're certified, because there's a lot of dodgy deals being done. There's a lot of lid swapping that's happening in the sheds. So this is a way that we start to break down the trust barriers which are happening within the actual farming community, and try to build on these relationships so farmers can start working together instead of being counterproductive and competitive. This idea that it's grassroots, so it is for the community, and it's driven by the community, and it's developed by the community, and in many ways it's owned by the community. They have complete ownership over the whole process, and they can call in for additional support where it's needed and required. The idea that it motivates and rewards best practice, I think, is a really important component as well, in that it sets the bar high, and if anyone isn't able to make the bar initially, it's about helping them together to get there, instead of saying, well, you don't make the cut, see you later, and we forget about you. If a farmer is looking at moving towards organics, this is a really great stepping stone, and I would hope in the years following that PGSs are regarded by the certification body as an in-conversion period, so it cuts down the time for the certified growers as well, so that we can encourage more farmers to take on more land certified organic, which is really an end game. The idea that it's affordable and accessible to everybody is really important as well. So it really has been about, if we can do things voluntarily, if we can cut all of the additional administrative costs, we can make it as cheap as it needs to be, and really the membership fee just covers like web hosting at this point. I was happy enough to donate my time into just getting it where it is, and the more members we have, the more money there'll be for marketing material, farm gate signs, flyers for farmers market stalls and banners and things like that, and it will probably motivate a particular member to be able to go and visit more farms or put flyers in letterboxes for farm gate stalls and things like that. Any questions before I move on?
Yeah, you said that at the beginning they had to do some sort of chemical testing. Are you going to go through that?
Yep. Sure, no worries. I can probably skip through that. I guess really this slide really just talks about the language and how there really is some key and fundamental differences between what's organic, which has really now become a definition for a certified product, and ecological farming. And as Rob sort of talked about as well, that exists within a framework which is about small-scale systems. It's about developing an ecology. It's about regenerating the earth, and it avoids these kind of large, broadacre, monoculture certified organic farms, which we wouldn't endorse for this program. So that provides us again with another point of difference. So this is the process that we go through. This is on the website too, so you'll be able to have a look at that. So the process is basically a farmer who's interested just submits an expression of interest from the website. I get an email and we can just start some dialogue, find out whether there might be any inquiries or queries or issues with the system. The expression of interest is reviewed for suitability by the existing farmer members, and we just at this point use a Facebook group, which is a really convenient way for us to do that. If the conditions are not met, and they're not willing to meet the conditions, that's where the story ends. They're not regarded as being someone who would be able to meet our development criteria. If they are willing to meet the criteria but aren't there yet, and they're prepared to go through a process, that's when we can start to offer them the sorts of support that they might need. If they're already there, or if they've had a history in organic farming, it's a really easy process. And really we've tried to make the whole thing as simple as it could be, because nobody really wants to spend time doing paperwork. It's about stripping it back just to the bare necessities. So once the application form is complete, we go through the rest of the process. We review this slightly, and in that we require them to submit a soil contaminants test first, and then that opens the door for them. So once they've gone through submitting a soil contaminants test, and we have a deal with the local soil lab, so they give us a 10% discount if they are going to become a member. And then that's as much as is required. We recommend that the farmers get a proper soil test done as well if they can afford it or if they want to, just because that's best practice anyway. But otherwise, the soil contaminants test costs $110 at EAL, which is our local uni lab. And from there, we basically just set up a time and date where we can go to the farm and we go through the farm audit. And we tick the boxes. We give them an inputs form, and they can just start filling it in for the first 12 months and start listing all of their relevant inputs. And provided that we can get enough farmers and consumers to the audit, that's okay. But they are also required to be a participant on another farm's audit before they get their full guarantee. And that was important also to know in that we don't call it a certification, we call it a guarantee. That is in some ways to appease the certification industry, but I think also in terms of what we're actually trying to do, all we are trying to do is guarantee that the farmer has done all that they need to do to meet our criteria, which are open to the public. So it's about just guaranteeing transparency. So initially what we set out to do was Feed Northern Rivers is a bioregion project, and we break that down into key chapters. So at the moment, the pilot just ran in the Byron Shire, where I was heading that, and we've made contact with some farmers in the other regions. One in Yamba, one in Kyogle, and one in the Tweed area, who will basically be the go-to person for those regions and just try to streamline the communications basically. So now looking at the next 12 months ahead, we'll be able to start rolling it out to other parts of the region because it's quite a big area to cover. And what's really important about PGS is that the farmers can actually make it to the farms. If your bioregion or if the region that you really want to look at putting under a PGS is too big and your farmers are finding it too difficult, if they've got to drive an hour to get to another farmer, it's probably too far, and you should try and look at a smaller region to start off with, and then as your members grow within that region, you might be able to find you can grow your chapter area, or you might be able to tie in with another PGS that's happening in a neighbouring region. So I think as the system is adopted and grows, it'll become easier to find a local PGS to be involved with, or if not, it's start your own basically. As I said, all of the information that I've put together for Feed is available as Creative Commons, so I'm really open about supporting more PGS in any other region. I've had contact from Mid-North Coast, a group in west of Sydney, I can't remember the region, and a group up this way somewhere. They're interested in adopting it. Basically, it's just suggested just take the forms are there, rebrand them if you really want. I suggest that there's power in keeping a common brand. Feed.org was a really good domain that I can't believe wasn't taken already, so I nabbed it. And I think looking at what's happened as certified naturally grown in the US as a national platform, there's strength in having the same sort of thing happen in Australia rather than a million different brands happening all around Australia for all the different PGS. So that's something certainly worth considering.
Also in New Zealand there are good examples.
Beg your pardon?
in New Zealand there are good examples.
Yes, there are some
And
good examples.
also there
in
are
New
some
Zealand.
groups that is adhere and they are certified.
Yep, absolutely. The go-to place is the iPhone website there, and that lists all the existing PGSs, so you can go and check out what's happening there already. Most of them are really happy to share. I mean, the fact that it's a grassroots movement means that it's people-oriented rather than corporate-dominated, because nobody's really trying to make money out of it, so most people are really happy to share. I certainly found that when I was looking for information. Anyone I asked was really happy to share their information and what problems they were having or where the successes were. So there's some key pieces of paperwork that I guess are the foundation of going through the process. You won't be able to see them very well. Those are 2 sheets. All of these are available on the website, feed.org.au, and you just download them and copy and paste if that's what you need to do. But yeah, basically it works off a guideline. So the first thing is we'll use inputs and practices consistent with the National Organic Standard. And then the rest of the guidelines are really either a hardening up of the certified standard in terms of animal welfare or treatment of the people that work on your farm to make sure it's an ethical process. So it's working on both the standards of human ethics and environmental ethics. The pledge is more or less like a stat deck. It needs to be signed by the participant and by the witnesses on farm at time of the audit, and then that's kept on record. The inspection report is 5 pages with 2 appendix for input records that the farmer keeps on site, and everything is kept in duplicate so that there's always a copy. The plan will be to digitise everything and have everybody's inspection report available by farmer on the website so that the consumers can see exactly what was ticked off for any particular farm. But we tried to make the form for the farm inspection for the consumer so that someone who's not a farmer can still understand it and get a sense of what an ecological farm needs to include without perhaps needing to be literate on what the organic standards terms and terminologies mean. So you'll see it's quite simple and yes, no. There's room for explanations where required. Things like, can you see insects on the farm, or when we look at the soil, can you see life in the soil? Those are the sort of really key things for a consumer that the consumer needs to know. We also offer resources, and I think we'll probably implement it into the farm inspection, which will be using the Northern River Soil Health Card. I don't know if any of you have seen that. That was developed by some key educators in the TAFE system. So it's a really great way to identify healthy soil just through observation. Here's some pictures of the first PGS farm audits that we did. This is on an ecological banana farm. He was the very first farmer, and he's probably our biggest advocate in terms of a farmer because the benefit that that's had to his consumer action or activity at his farmer's market stall he's wrapped in, and he just has a banner that says his feed audited. It means he doesn't have to try to create a point of difference where in the past he used to. It means he doesn't have to explain to his customers what he means by chemical free, and people have really accepted it and adopted it as an important part of his marketing. This was the market garden at the community garden, so we had a group of farmers come down and have a look at that. So that's a different system, and this is the certified organic market gardener who's adopted the PGS standard as a complementary. And that's basically it. Happy to answer any more questions. Yeah.
Joe, I'm guessing this is a value-based ecological system. So I'm assuming that you're working with the farmers as well as the consumers who share this already.
Yep.
Now my question is around innovation outside of that sphere. One question I have is the marketing.
Yep.
What do you define by marketing? Is it the same consumers who share the same values or outside, external? The second question is, you have to part of language, a lot of fun. Now, what happens to the middle? Because my assumption is you're working with similar values people, farmers, and trying to create a settlement of all these PGS systems. Now, outside of that system, how do you guarantee or differentiate yourself from organic non-conventional farmers? Because it's possible misconception because of the education of consumers outside of the plan.
Yep.
So that's outside of the non-conventional system.
So in terms of the marketing, I guess the key components to the PGS or PGS in general is about transparency, in terms of transparency of the method that you went through to get your guarantee or certification for clarity, and the method that you use to produce your food. That has to be transparent as well. All of the information is easily accessible to the consumer, and in terms of, I guess, just leading, because it's new in terms of concept, some of the strengths of the marketing come from the name. The idea of an ecological farm is clear in most people's mind what that is. In terms of making it simple enough for everybody to understand is really, really important. And we just started with, like there on the left, just little flyers that farmers can have, which basically identify the core components of what an ecological farm is. On the reverse of that flyer, it's broken into two sections. The top half is basic information for if you're a farmer, and the bottom half is basic information for if you're a consumer, and how to be involved if you're eager, basically. Does that answer your question? There was another part to it, sorry. The external market. So the PGS is really designed for locals by locals, or for your region by your region. It really is about short food chains. So again, to harp on it, if you are certified organic and you're selling at your road stall or at your farmer's market, you really don't need a certification label if your customers are quite happy with what you're doing. And some farmers have given it up because the cost is prohibitive. This offers the same level of guarantee for a consumer in the local community where the farmer is. It doesn't help if you want to sell into a wholesale market, and that's okay. If you're going to sell into a wholesale market, you go with a national standard, or certainly for export, you definitely need a certified organic label. There's another part to that. In terms of, there was a instance of egg producers, free range, pasture laid, they've done the whole thing, regenerative eggs in the Byron Shire that don't use certified organic feed. So they were doing everything else as best as they could in terms of the most holistic and ethical standard. They were still using conventional feed because organic feed meant that their production was cost prohibitive. In the instance of this, we will be able to find a grain farmer in a small-scale system outside of the region where grain grows that would happily be able to supply a common standard, so through a PGS, and all of a sudden we can now start to look at working interregionally with other farmers who might be able to supply inputs or planting material or even seed outside of the certified organic system.
The best country for this thing is India, and they have a lot of PGS that interact. It's a network of PGS.
Yes.
So you are out of the other system, third party, and you are.
Yeah, absolutely. That's key.
Sorry, everyone, we'll have to leave questions if you want to catch up with Joel in the break, but we're a little late for lunch.
Just a quick statement. The way I interpreted your second question was you ignore the big picture because focusing on the local picture will erode it eventually.
Well, to answer the second, we have a money.
Yeah, they want to keep up. Would everyone like to put their hands together and thank Joel?
Who knows? Oh, he's the new Joel. Yes.
Western Victoria,
And then Cole. Yeah. And then Market
not wrong.
No. I've been up here 15, 16 years and I still struggle with the seasons and the grasses and the
That's so much you grew up with. Coming a long time.
Yes. Because you're in that more subtypes all.
It was just a long
Yes. That's right.
That's what we had.
No. When you get colder winters? No, not yet. No. Yeah, let's do one now before we forget it. Yeah. This is I'm surprised no one said that actually. I don't make comments. Even in my session I was surprised no one said that. Try the grass.